goes towards the Manufacturers' Championship points as well. Hoping you can hear something. All we're hearing is ourselves, which is entertaining.
Yeah, it's this format of qualifying obviously inspired by cycle racing, like you see in the velodromes, and the idea is that all three cars you try and tow each other around, and it's the time from the first car to the end of the train that counts, and it's been quite interesting over the season. We've seen some dramas, quite a few mistakes, and it's been a good talking point, if nothing else.
We've seen stalls, spins, crashes, punctures, all sorts of stuff going on. We've seen some very, very tight finishes as well. And I'm not sure that Citroën are going to canter away in this one either. We'll have to wait and see exactly what happens. But certainly, I don't think Lada are expected to be as far off the pace as they are here. At the beginning of last season, when we came here, Lada were a lot closer, or at least the car that was completed and stayed together. Rob Huff's was a lot closer. The other two didn't really play much part in the weekend. Everything came together very, very late for Lada last year. The second and third chassis were being built up in the garages. Nicky Katzberg making his first appearance here, of course, because he joined the team later on in the season last year. Gabriele Tarquini finished second in the in race 2 here in 2013, so he's got experience of faring well. But that was with Honda. I wonder how they're going to fare here.
I think it's one of those things that we've seen all season long. You've got, I guess that's what makes it quite interesting. We know that the Citroën's probably the quickest platform of all of the three teams that enter MAC3, but they only have 2 works drivers, so they always have a non-factory driver from Sebastian Loeb Racing in there as well. You have the 3 factory drivers from Lada and the 3 factory drivers from Honda. So it kind of depends. It varies on the circuit layout, the nature of the circuit, and how obviously how they get on and how they manage to run alongside each other.
If you're watching at home, if you could make suitable brum brum noises, that would be very helpful indeed. Just kind of phone them into us, because sitting in silence with no car audio is a very strange way of watching motor racing. It's like watching it through, you know, somebody else's telly through the showroom window. Do you remember, you know, when you used to be in town with your mum and dad and there was a really important match on, you know, it was a cup final day or something, everybody would be outside the you know, Rumbelows window looking in and watching it with no commentary, just with the pictures.
Yeah, it is similar.
So this is the way it works then. They all line up on the start-finish line. They're given a 15-second board, and then hopefully after 15 seconds the lights change. Oh, we didn't hear the team radio there, but I'm sure it was very enlightening. However, we now have noises, so away we go. Hugo Vallant trying to ease in front of Nicky Katzberg as they try and sort themselves out. I'm not sure that's going to go quite as well as might have been hoped for. Katzberg takes the lead. Vallant drops into second. I think Tarquini saw which way that one was going. Normally the best standing starter of a front-wheel drive racing car you'll ever see. Tarquini didn't make the best getaway there, but
yeah, I
he
think
saw the other two dicing for the lead, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he stood down, didn't he, and thought this is only going one way and I don't need to be involved in that little mess that's about to appear.
Now, on the back straight, Tarquini should start to tow up behind the others, but he is not catching them. They are dropping him, and it is Tarquini who will set the time. So the question here is, does Katzberg canter off, and does Vallant try and drop back a little bit? I don't know quite. You know, we get these little strategy calls, don't we? You know, it's happened with the Honda guys a few times where one of them's dropped back, say, what do we do? What do we do? Come on, Rob had a bit of a fluff start in one of them. When were we? Maybe that was at Paul Ricard. He said, just go, just go. You know, don't wait for me, because then we'll all hold ourselves up.
It's difficult as well, because, you know, Tarquini could do with someone to tow him along on the straights, but then the flip side is, you know, if later in the lap he starts to find a bit of pace, he doesn't want to then get held up by that car. And it is a fine line. That's the interesting part of this format.
He hasn't dropped too much further back in the second sector of the lap, but he is still not. Well, he's close enough to have relatively clean air under braking and through the corners, and that's good. But they do need to kind of hoover him along on the back straight. So Ugo needs to stop following Nicky quite so closely. Just short. Do you know what? Tarquini's car looks a bit of an evil handful over those bumps.
It does, doesn't it? It's those braking bumps into turn 1 there. They seem to be.
I'm not sure Gabrielli's going to catch them at all, even if Ugo backs off a little bit here.
Ugo looks like he wants a bit of Katzberg, actually, doesn't he?
I know. Unfortunately, I think he's got the red mist, and he's not paying attention to what's going on behind.
Yeah.
And maybe Gabrielli's just saying, I can't go any quicker, just go. It's not going to make any difference. You know, stay out of my way, just let me try and find something somewhere. But even the second lap's not helping. He is getting slower compared to his teammates. He may not be getting slower compared to them, but he's certainly not getting any quicker compared to them, so the gap continues to grow. It's not about Katzberg, it's not about Vallant. The clock will be stopped when Tarquini closes the line, and he's, I mean, he's a second and a half behind them already.
Yeah, it's a big drop, isn't it?
Yeah. And it is looking exactly like it looked in qualifying. Quite a handful, frankly. And whatever they thought they might have found when they went testing in Motorland Aragon, I'm not sure it's working here. Now, Aragon's got a prodigiously long back straight, but it is quite uppy-downy. I mean, there are a couple of climbs and dives there that, I mean, not short ones like here, but...
Yeah, a lot of the focus of that test was to try and find a more effective way of carrying the extra ballast as well, and it doesn't look like they've had too much luck with that, unfortunately, for them.
But the deal is, as they come across the line, Tarquini is the time-setting car, 3:36.180. That is a bit...
I think I have pure power left acceleration. Also in the start, I took quite a good start, but the engine doesn't work properly.
It's not just the bumpy braking or the chop under braking. Tarquini, you heard there saying the engine was not working properly.
Under acceleration as well.
Yeah.
That explains why he didn't get the best start off the line, and then obviously that big where we saw the other two drop him was the exit T2, T3 and T4 and onto the straight. Yeah, where they're picking up all the speed from the slower corners and away from the line. You know, if Tarquini's not leading you into the first corner, generally speaking, this is a major surprise. Huff, Montero, Michelisz. Now, they've all had turns leading and all had turns at the back, pretty much, I think. So, Norby coming out third, you would assume he may be intended to be the driver on the back of the train. Unless he's going to line up on the inside, perhaps, and with the aim to... Because it's a funny one, this turn 1. It's such a long, sweeping corner. Yeah. Ideally, for the fastest one to get away, you'd say probably start him on the outside, but now he's in the middle. There's their theory's gone. Hey, I love a theory, me. You know that. Right, Thiago on the outside, on the right-hand side of your picture. Nominally the time-setting driver. Got to love a bit of anti-lag, haven't you? Away they go, no jump starts, which is always good news. Not huge amounts of wheel spin, which is also good news. Well, looks like Rob Huff will be the time-setting driver then. So, you know, plans of mice and men, it's all for no avail, aren't they? Always the way with motorsport. There's no point trying to make a plan. It just pans itself out, and it normally ends up totally different to what your plan was anyway. So we've got to have a plan, but you've got to be able to change it. You've got to allow it to change, because things will change your plan. Mitchel's had a big sideways there. Now they're all very ginger on their tyres on the way out, weren't they? Nobody weaving, nobody ducking and diving. Yeah, perhaps they're looking for a bigger advantage in sector 2, but yeah, that's the tow that we were talking about. You can really see them all pulling each other along there, and three cars working together to push through the air is better than one. You can see Huffy closing up there, couldn't you? And you see how they all fan out like the red arrows. They're having a little bit of clear air to get the grip they need on the splitter in the corner. So you compromise your corner fractionally, deliberately, so that you don't understeer wide. Yeah, exactly. Get more clean air across the splitter. As you say, man, you can see they're all taking a slightly different line, aren't they? So, oh, little glint of sunshine as well. Umbrellas 10 minutes ago, got a bit of sunshine out. Blimey, could almost be at Donington Park. Well, not today. Today it'll be Scorchio, but
It's got a very British summer feel to it. Closest to the camera is Gergely, who, of course, has been Norby's engineer for several years.
That's a great name, isn't it, Gergely?
Yeah. It's not spelt the same, but it's the Hungarian equivalent of Gregory.
It's much better. It sounds much more exciting than Gregory.
Norby leads them across the line, and now Thiago will tow Rob. And actually, Norby just a little further in front gives Thiago a much clearer view of the corner. Rob's the one, of course, who can't really see all he needs to see, but they're experienced enough that he knows exactly. You feel where the turn-in is, you know, you're looking through the corner, not just at the bit that the cars are blocking in front of you.
Almost 2 seconds up.
Well, we know, you know, Tarquini was almost 2 seconds behind his teammates, wasn't he? So, nice flock of pigeons in the background, or starlings, or something or others at the back of the main straight. Flutter up every time the cars come and then settle immediately. Go, oh, they're not turning left here. Wouldn't be quite so brave on lap 1, boys. There might be some traffic coming your way. Again, great view on board from Rob, half of that gap narrowing between him and Thiago right in front on the back straight. Through corner 6 to 7.
And we know Thiago and Rob have struggled a little bit on pace compared to Michelin so far this weekend, so that's no major surprise to see Michelin's pulling away in the lead there.
Well, again, you know, he's the guy that got through into Q3, so to have him on the back would sort of appear to not be using that pace efficiently, wouldn't it?
But you'd only get held up by whoever's slowest, so
exactly.
You're going to have that length of whatever of your car.
Yeah, so put him on the front, let him go as quickly as he can. There's still within half a second or 2/3 of a second on the straight. There's still a tow for Thiago, pretty much as if he was right up under his back bumper, and there's still you know, a knock-on tow for Rob as well. So let him go and let the others work themselves out. And they come across the line 3.3 seconds quicker than Lada.
0.3 faster than Lada. Good job.
Gary Esposito on the radio. So Honda faster than Lada. Two of our three teams have gone now in MAC3. MAC3 manufacturers against the clock, and there are 3 cars. That's where the name comes from, and the remaining 3 cars will be Citroën C-Elysées. The Citroën team heading to the start line for the final run of MAC3. Lada have set a 3-minute 36.1 time, Honda 3:32.8. So getting on for 3.5 seconds quicker. What will the Citroën trio produce? The 2 Total Citroën racing cars, Jose Maria Lopez and Ivan Muller, and between them the red, white and blue Sebastian Loeb racing car of Tom Chilton. Sebastian Loeb Racing have already tied up the team's title in the Independence race. Points race, championship race, title race.
It'll be interesting to see how these guys line up as well.
Yep.
Lopez being the quickest of this trio, do you think he'll be in the middle, or do you think he'll be on one of the flanks?
I think they'll, well, wherever, I think they'll want him to lead, and I think they'll want Ivan to go second and Tom to go third, because that's the speed at which they were placed in qualifying. So where would you put him? I would think inside, with Ivan outside and Tom in the middle, so he can sort of line up behind whichever of the other 2 doesn't make the better start.
So he's...
Yeah, there you go.
That's opposite to what I would have
thought.
These guys will have done a lot of data and research into where they want them to line up, so I'm sure they're right.
I would just have thought that the driver who wants to lead wants to only be looking at the inside of the first corner, and the one who wants to be third, you want to be in the middle so you know what the other 2 are doing. Well, not the greatest start from Ivan. I think he's going to be third, and Chilton appears to have outstarted Lopez rather inconveniently for all of our planning. and Lopez will take the lead. I think Tom might have had to breathe off the throttle a little there. Pachito carries a lot of pace into turn 1. See how much the Citroen's moving around at the back. That's exactly what Lopez was talking about earlier on.
Yeah, and it's not one progressive movement. It's like a little go, it lets go, then grips, and lets go, and then it grips.
It's yawing away there, isn't it? Every time it grips a little, then the inside rear wheel comes up again, and then it slides a bit more. Well, Lopez is heading for the hills. Selected top gear nice and early there down the main straight. Tom Chilton towing Ivan Muller behind. So this is very much like the Hondas, isn't it? 2/10 back. That's interesting. It's a bit, I mean, particularly that, you know, that low camera view from Ivan of Tom round the first corner. It's very busy, isn't it? You can feel the car moving up, and you'll feel that it's doing that. You'll feel that it's moving and moving and moving, but I mean, that's not going to require a big steering input or throttle change from the drive. Because the back's going to do what it's going to do. If it's yawing a little, that's not a drama. Just keep the front wheels planted.
Yeah, keep the front wheels pointing where you want them to go, and keep your foot in to make sure that they're going to go there, and you should be okay. That's interesting. Look, so they've actually found 3/10 against the Honda there.
Yeah.
They were 2/10 down off the start.
Now, Tom will be sitting there with his foot pinned on the throttle, and gradually the car is starting to yaw away, and the steering, he's holding his hands in the same place, but the steering is moving as the car moves under him, and I think his car is a little looser than Ivan's. Now, we've not seen where somebody has needed to pass his teammate, but Ivan Muller needs to pass his teammate now, doesn't he? Ivan's going, come on, Tom, get out of the way. I don't know if they're talking to each other on the radio.
It's difficult as well, because how do you let him through without costing both of you time?
Got to somehow try and let him through on the back straight, because actually Ivan is quicker than Tom.
Very different lines as well. Tom's turning in much earlier than Ivan is, and
that's because he's worried that the back end is going to drag him way out over the curbs, which just make it worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, but he's come onto the straight quite well there, like you say. You'd think that this would be the opportunity to try and let him slip through without costing too much time.
Ivan can't now. Tom's going to have to throw this away, and again they've got nearly 3/10 behind, and that is because Tom Chilton's car does not look comfortable. It's not that it's vicious, evil and ill handling. It's just that when those rear wheels get sideways, Harry, they're dragging and slowing the car down a little. That's all that it is.
Yeah, any loss of grip obviously is pushing you sideways rather than forward, so it's where times are going. Oh, you couldn't get a cigarette paper between them there, could you, when they came off that corner?
And here we're saying, oh, it's a massive margin. It's 28 hundredths of a second.
Yeah,
it's
so close, isn't it?
It's faster than a manual gear shift. You know, now they've gone half a second away. Now it might almost be visible to the naked eye, a half-second difference between them. But, I mean, it's a tiny, tiny margin.
Lopez is on the brakes there as well.
Yeah.
Now, how this comes down to now, how much time is the length of the Citroën C-Elysée across the line?
Hang on a minute. Well, they can't both be first, and plus 0.67 suggests to me that they were behind. Now, our timing screen's not telling us anything, I'm afraid. However, on the radio, the Citroën engineers were saying they were second, and Honda looked like they were first, and they should be if they were 6,700s behind. So they seem to be behind all that line. So are we going to assume that Citroën was second?
I think so, yeah.
In lieu of any graphics or any confirmation, either in the booth or on the screen, I think we'll assume that Honda won that.
Sounds good to me.
Oh, dear.
Well, it is another curveball, isn't it? You know, they've not been that quick this weekend relative to the Citroën, so it's quite nice to see them get some
They've
victory.
not been that quick relative to a Citroën.
Yes, true.
And that's the deal, isn't it? You know, Pachito, again, is in a little bit of a class of his own here, particularly among his Citroën teammates, quasi-teammates.
He is, but Muller wasn't too far off us. He was only 2/10 behind, so it's not a million miles away.
Didn't get in the top 5. Norby did.
Yeah, Muller was in the top 5.
No, he was. Yes, he was, wasn't he?
Because he made that mistake on his act, didn't he? On the exit. So Honda claim the points.
Okay, so that helps to narrow down Citroen's championship lead a fraction. And like everything else, Honda certainly are not going to give up until they're sitting in the gala dinner at the end of the season and the trophy's being handed to somebody else. That's when you know that the game is up. So 6,700s behind for the Citroens, 3.3 seconds behind. This is going to be a tough weekend for Lada. And you sort of sense from where they're starting that if all three cars get out of both races with no damage, that will be a minor miracle, because they are, you know, they're on the back foot, and unfortunately they're in the zone where a lot of contact happens. Well, let's get down to the pit lane.
The winning trio of MAC3. Congratulations. I don't know how much you guys were aware. We were watching. There was like Citroen were up on you in Sector 2, but then they lost out in Sector 3 and 4. It was very nail-biting stuff for us. At the start, you had a brilliant start. It looked like you and Thiago were like vying for the lead.
Yeah, but he knows that I don't let him pass, so anyway. No, it was a couple of nice moments. I saw also Thiago in the mirror. We tried to push. We went sideways, but in the end, the most important thing, we still have P1, so congratulations to the team.
And the good thing is that despite that little battle at the beginning, you are like a real pack, aren't you, the three of you? Pace setter, good stuff.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I got the worst start, so I've made it very clear to the other two. We've got a good little strategy that seems to be working throughout the year for us. It's hard at the back because, you know, through the fast corners, we lose the front end aerodynamics, so that's why we dropped a little bit to Norby. But yeah, I mean, I had a good seat because these two were sliding around on the opening lap, trying to get the tyres in, and yeah, just great for the team. You know, great job to win it by almost 7/10 is pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it definitely is, and much needed. Once again, much needed points for Honda.
Yes, that's the important thing. We're just saying, I think you should give a lot more points. 10 is not enough, but yeah, we'll see for next year.
Would you like, you know, basically an equivalent to Hungary and Nürburgring, please?
More or less, yeah, kind of. You know, but I think we all did a good job, and yeah, it was nice to see a little bit of attack. The tires were not there at the beginning, and we saw some slides from Norby and I, and in the end we kept it together. That's important.
That's exactly what's important. Well done, all three of you.
Well done indeed to the Honda trio. So 100 points when we win and 10 points when we lose for the victors. that's how you check. Tighten up the championship a little bit. So Honda come out on top in MAC3, and we have our two pole sitters. DHL pole sitter for the opening race tomorrow will be John Philippi, and for the main race will be Jose Maria Lopez. So that's it. Join Harry Folkard and me, Martin Haven, for the races. Tomorrow we'll be live on Eurosport with all the action. Until then, it's goodbye from Termas to Rio Hondo.